Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. Has the time come for the government to drop the Telangana bill? That's one of the key issues I shall explore today with Jairam Ramesh, the Rural Development Minister, an Andhra Pradesh MP and a member of the group of ministers handling bifurcation of the state. Mr. Ramesh, after the scenes of violence in Parliament yesterday and the growing belief that if you go ahead with the Telangana bill, you could have even worse scenes of disorder in Andhra, has the time come for you to accept your colleague Farooq Abdullah's advice and drop the Telangana bill, or at least postpone it till after the elections?
Well, I can't say what the government strategy is going to be current. It's going to be decided by the Prime Minister, the Congress President, the Home Minister, Parliamentary Affairs Minister and others. But all I can tell you is that what happened in Parliament yesterday diminished all of us. It demeaned all of us. It shouldn't have happened. Differences on Telangana are inevitable. Protests are democratic means of expressing your view, but what actually happened with pepper spray and so-called knives and so on is something totally unacceptable.
I want to pick up on the beginning of your answer. I cannot tell you what would happen. The strategy will be decided by the Prime Minister. That suggests that there is a possibility Telangana could be dropped.
No. See, I spoke to the Home Minister yesterday, and the Home Minister said that the bill has been introduced. Okay? Now, there are different views on this. I know Sushma Swaraj has given a different view. But it is the reading of the Home Minister, who's the leader of the House also, and is also the reading of the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, that the bill stands introduced.
But the Speaker hasn't pronounced on that.
But surely, I would be the first to argue that such a far-reaching bill should be discussed in Parliament, should be debated, and should not be pushed through in a cacophony or when protests of a violent nature are taking place.
So let me extrapolate from your opinion. If it is essential that a far-reaching bill like this must be discussed, you must have a proper division of votes on it, it mustn't happen amongst cacophony and din, then it follows that perhaps the government will reconsider and pull the bill, because you're not going to have a sensible debate.
That interpretation is yours. You're at liberty to draw whatever conclusion, and you are known to draw conclusions from innocuous statements. But my statement is very clear, that my personal belief is such an important piece of legislation must be debated and discussed and not pushed through in a din.
In which case, if you cannot debate it because in fact the MPs will not allow it to happen.
Well, these are all hypothetical questions.
Well, not hypothetical. You've known how Parliament has been paralyzed for the last 3 weeks.
The obstructionist MPs stand suspended from the House. I don't know for how long, but they stand suspended from the House.
So you're hoping that in the absence of those 17 MPs, there will be no din and no cacophony?
I don't know. My position, which I have articulated in party forums as well, is that let's not push this legislation through without proper debate and discussion.
There are two other
in the House.
There are two other obstacles you face beyond your concern about cacophony and din. The first is Sushma Swaraj's insistence that she believes the bill has not been properly introduced. She says it hasn't even been laid on the House. It wasn't part of either the business of the day or the supplementary business.
Karan, I can only go by what the Home Minister and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister...
But the Speaker said nothing. The Speaker
was not there in the House because she
could have spoken and she still hasn't.
But I don't know. On this we need the clarity. But the bill, if it has not been introduced, it will be introduced. We cannot pass a bill without getting it introduced.
What about a second concern? Sushma Swaraj has also made it crystal clear that the opposition will not talk to the government in any shape or form, she says, over Telangana. You're going to get no cooperation from them.
No. We have talked to the BJP. I personally have talked to Mr. Venkaiah Naidu. Ahmed Patel and Digvijay Singh have been talking to the BJP leaders. The Prime Minister has spoken to the BJP leaders. But let me say that the BJP, in its true characteristic, is running with the Andhra hare and hunting with the Telangana
That may be so,
but
the point I'm making is that without their cooperation,
in this way it should be the Telangana hare and the Andhra
The point I'm making is without their cooperation, you can't pass the Telangana bill. So
Absolutely.
I come back.
So listen,
should we not just give up?
We shouldn't have any unilateralist initiative in the House. We have to bring the BJP on board. We should try to create a larger consensus beyond the BJP as well. Now, we have 4 days left in Parliament, and I hope that we can get it done.
So it also follows that if you can't have a unilateralist attempt, then without the BJP's cooperation, the bill won't happen. Once again, the BJP has an effective veto.
I mean, I got an equally contentious land acquisition bill through in 2 days' time. With 155 amendments, whereas this bill has only 33 amendments.
One other possibly serious obstacle lurking ahead is the fact that Jagan Mohan Reddy is said to be considering going to the courts. He believes that he can petition the court on the ground that this bill has been improperly introduced.
Let him go to the... Look, the courts will do what they have to do, Parliament will do what it has to do. The Parliament has a function. There is the bill that we are presenting, which we have presented, which we have introduced, on which there is some doubt. I'm sure that doubts can get clarified. But a bill will be introduced. If it is not considered introduced, it will be debated, it will be discussed, it will be passed. Now, if somebody wants to go to court and challenge it, he is free.
I want to pick up on something that you said.
But all I can tell you is, nothing that we have done, this bill does not violate the Constitution in any form.
There's something that I want to pick up on, which you said at least 3-4 times up till now, that you've suggested that it would be wrong to pass this bill unilaterally. It would be wrong to do it amidst cacophony and din. You need a proper debate. You need a proper
any bill,
counting of votes.
Any bill, whether it is food security, whether it is land acquisition, whether it is Telangana,
Is this very moral position shared by the Prime Minister,
yes,
Mrs. Gandhi?
Sure. I'm sure all of us believe. I'm sure the Prime Minister, I'm sure the Congress President, I'm sure our Vice President, I'm sure our Home Minister, all want normal, legitimate, democratic means.
You know something else?
Which also means that the other side has a right to protest.
Opponents of the bill, hearing you, will simply say to themselves that if we create sufficient cacophony and din, this bill won't happen. That is a clear veto you're giving them, perhaps on moral grounds, but you're doing it.
No, listen, there will be protests. There are democratic ways of protesting in the House. I am saying pepper spray and knives are not legitimate ways.
There are not legitimate. Knife.
Look, we are now quibbling. Okay, pepper spray I saw. I was a victim of the pepper spray, and I think the member of parliament, whichever party he belongs to, whatever his democratic right of protest, I think by using the pepper spray has really demeaned himself in the house as well. 2
quick questions on Telangana before I change subject and take a break. The first is that not just the BJP, but practically every party in parliament blames Congress for the scenes of chaos and violence in Parliament on Thursday. Let me finish. They say that you were aware of what was happening. You deliberately didn't prepare. This was calculated negligence.
There is absolutely no Byzantine conspiracy. There is a deep divide in the Congress party. Yes, our Telangana MPs want the state. Our Andhra MPs, the Seemandhra MPs, the MPs from coastal Andhra don't want the state. Yes, there is a divide. There is a divide in the TDP. There is a divide.
Are you sure?
There is a divide. The CPI wants the state. The CPM doesn't want the state.
The question I'm asking is, all the preparations in Parliament suggested that there was a real knowledge that something would happen, and yet the government deliberately
this is a Byzantine conspiracy theory that Congress, in some Machiavellian way, masterminded all this chaos. This is what Sushma Swaraj alluded to. I think is absolutely hogwash.
Looking back on the way Telangana has been handled by this government, many people, not just politicians, but many people across the board believe that your government has mishandled it, not just in recent weeks and months, but from December 2009 when Mr. Chidambaram made his midnight statement about Telangana. Can you, as an honest politician, accept that, with hindsight, this whole issue could have been handled better?
Karan, December 7th, there was an all-party meeting chaired by the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, 2009. December 9th, Mr. Chidambaram's statement. January 5th and January 6th, all-party meetings by Mr. Chidambaram with all political parties. Sri Krishna report. Before that, in 2004, our common minimum program committed ourselves to creation of Telangana.
Through an SRC.
No, we did not use the word. No, it does not. I was the author of the
2004 Congress manifesto.
Give me some credit. Give me some credit since I was the author of that document. The United Progressive Alliance will consider the formation of Telangana at an appropriate time after consultations and consensus. You are wrong, Karan, on this because I was the
let me put this to you.
So let me answer your question. From
2004
onwards, this issue has been on the table. Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy makes a statement on the 12th of February 2009.
Have you mishandled it?
No, I don't think we have mishandled it. I don't believe that we have mishandled it. I think this issue.
People say you've done it purely for political outcome. You're hoping to capitalize on seats in Telangana, because otherwise you would lose in Andhra across the board.
No, I don't think that there was any political motive like that.
Kiran Kumar Reddy says you've dealt a death blow to Congress in Andhra. Your prospects are zero.
I think Kiran Kumar Reddy has not been loyal to the Congress party, unfortunately. He's a Congress chief minister. I'm sorry, he's a good friend of mine. But
should he be sacked? Should he be sacked?
That's not for me to say, but I think he has really crossed the Lakshman Rekha of discipline as far as I'm concerned.
He's crossed the Lakshman Rekha of discipline. As serious as that?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. Let's take a break at that point. I want to come back and turn the subject completely. I want to talk to you about Rahul Gandhi and ask you, has he flopped badly as a result of the Times Now interview? That's in a moment's time. Don't go away. Welcome back to Devil's Advocate and an interview with the Rural Development Minister and one of Congress Party's key political strategists, Jairam Ramesh. Mr. Ramesh, let's come to Rahul Gandhi's interview to Times Now. Would you accept that he's damaged both his personal standing and image as well as the electoral prospects of the Congress
Absolutely
Party?
not. Absolutely not. I think he has broken a long period of silence. This is his first public interview. It was baptism by fire, as it were. It's very
Did he
well,
get scalded by the fire?
It's very well known that
Did he get scalded by the fire?
There are two ways to get baptism by fire. One is Arnab Goswami, the other one is Karan Thapar.
Did he get scalded?
He chose Arnab Goswami.
Did he get scalded
no, I don't
by
think
the
so.
fire?
I think he answered all his questions with aplomb. He never lost his cool. He articulated what his vision was, what his values were. And I think if the questions were a little more substantive, maybe you would have had a much more constructive and a much more specific Rahul Gandhi on display.
All right, let's then examine closely the impression that interview created. No doubt Rahul Gandhi was transparent and open, but many people feel he also appeared as a simpleton.
No, and he also broke a long period of hibernation. That's very important, you know.
Many people feel he appeared as a simpleton. Some thought he was uninformed. Others actually said he came out to be dim-witted. Is that the impression you want to create?
I don't think so. I think, you know, these are all epithets that are hurled, but I don't take them seriously. I believe, for me, the most important aspect of that interview was that Mr. Gandhi decided to go public.
But in the process, he's underlined and re-emphasized the image of Rahul Gandhi as Pappu. That's not an image
that's not true. You're being absolutely unfair.
Just look at social network. Look at social network.
Listen, the
Young
social
India's calling him Pappu.
Yeah, but social network, you know, words don't have much meaning in social networks. You use all sorts of meanings.
Let me bring up something
we
else.
all know how an army is used in social networks
let me bring up something
on behalf of a certain point of view.
Many people feel that Rahul Gandhi had only two answers and he kept repeating them. I counted it. He spoke about RTI 8 times. He spoke about empowering women 10 times. The problem is, it was the only answer he had, and people thought he was either using it to evade or he can't think of anything else to say.
No, I think, let's go back to that interview. What are the main points that Mr. Gandhi actually highlighted in response to the questions which were rarely were constructive?
He didn't seem to go beyond that.
What did Mr. Gandhi say? He says that he believes in system change. He believes in youth. He believes in empowerment of women, and he believes that we need connectivity
and then he said
in order to bring
RTI
people
8
into the
times and
system.
empowering women 10 times, and he echoed it so much that people said
RTI
he doesn't
ways,
have anything else to say.
No, RTI is the means. But broad themes, what did he articulate? He articulated that the system needs to...
Because if
you're now behaving like Arnab Goswami.
I'm not behaving like Arnab. I want to ask an issue that Arnab didn't ask because he was perhaps pressed for time. Rahul Gandhi
After 90 minutes
just a moment.
pressed for time?
Rahul Gandhi went on so much about deepening RTI and about empowering women. He repeatedly said this was critical. How then does he account for the fact that for 2 years at least, the Manmohan Singh government did practically everything it could to weaken and dilute RTI, except public pressure stopped you? How do you account for the fact that after you pushed women's reservation in the Rajya Sabha, 4 years have passed and you haven't even attempted to do it in the Lok Sabha?
We don't have a overwhelming majority.
No, just a moment. If this
we don't have a Rajiv Gandhi type of a majority.
What's the majority? What's the majority got to do with efforts to dilute RTI when he wants to strengthen it?
We got the women's reservation bill through the Rajya Sabha.
And didn't attempt in the Lok Sabha.
You forgot in the Lok Sabha because they were political party.
You didn't try.
We tried.
You made no effort.
No, absolutely
Look at the effort you're making over Telangana.
Absolutely
if you made a similar effort, it would have happened.
No, absolutely not.
And what about weakening RTI? When you think strengthening it is important, your government tried to weaken it.
What you are saying, listen, I was involved in the drafting of the RTI, okay?
I was about trying to weaken it thereafter.
Let me tell you, I was closely involved in the drafting, in the conception of the RTI. Even I have very deep reservations of bringing political parties. I have certain reservations, but Mr. Gandhi has himself articulated that he's not against it.
I'm not talking about bringing political parties under RTI. That's just happened last year. I'm talking about steps that you were taking the year before and the year before that.
Like what?
To remove the PMO from RTI. Number 2, to remove file notings from RTI. You had public debates about it. Aruna Roy went public in letters to Sonia Gandhi. That's why it didn't happen. And this is the contradiction. Rahul wants to deepen it. Your government actually tried to weaken
listen,
it, and Rahul wasn't even answering any questions about that.
Governance is shades of grey. It's not black or white, okay? RTI is a major revolution. We need to strengthen the RTI. But there are people today who are reticent, reluctant to take decisions, saying that, oh, because of RTI, what I really believe will come into being. I'm not defending them. All I am saying is that, one has to be careful that in the name of transparency and accountability, we don't bring decision making to a grinding halt.
Except that what Rahul Gandhi was talking about was deepening it, not sharing the concerns you have about how it works and what it does.
Clearly, Mr. Gandhi,
you're saying something very different to what Rahul Gandhi said.
Mr. Gandhi himself said that he is in favor of bringing political parties under the ambit of RTI.
Let me go beyond RTI. Let's leave this debate of RTI for the audience to judge. I want to come to 2 or 3 other things that Rahul Gandhi said, which not only were disconcerting,
about the empowerment of
but
women,
also created controversy. First, he said that any alliance with the RJD would not be an alliance with an individual, but with an idea. Now, to most people, the RJD symbolizes just 2 ideas: caste-based politics and dynastic succession within the Lalu Yadav family.
Politics.
Which of those ideas do you want to ally with?
It's social justice. It's empowerment of the weaker sections. And the fact of the matter is, our entire Bihar Congress unit, from top to bottom, wants an alliance with the RJD.
Except for the fact that the RJD is one party where twice Lalu Yadav, when he's gone to jail, has handed power directly to Rabri Devi. The first time round, she wasn't even elected. Thereafter, when he went to jail the second time, he handed power to his sons as well. If there's any party that symbolizes the cancer of dynastic rule more than Congress, is RJD. And yet, the Congress dynasty wants to ally with them.
If you go into the history of the RJD and the anchors of the RJD, you see what RJD stood for was social justice, was empowerment of the OBCs, was empowerment of the intersections. But he articulated that.
He didn't.
In one line.
No.
In one line.
He said an idea and left it there.
The idea of social justice.
Oh, what? You're saying idea of social justice.
The idea of social empowerment.
Words weren't in his mouth. Let me take up something else that he said, which has disconcerted people. And I'm going to quote to you what he said. He said, the difference between the 84 riots and the riots in Gujarat was that in 1984 the government was trying to stop the riots. I was a child then. I remember the government was doing everything it could to stop the riots.
Yes.
That is simply untrue.
No, that's not. That is absolutely true, because I was right here.
Forgive me.
The government was, the Prime Minister was going around the city making an appeal. Within the army was called out.
Jairam Ramesh, I'm so glad you mentioned the army. Let me point out the parallels. If Modi was reluctant to quell the riots, Rajiv Gandhi delayed calling out the army till the 3rd day. If Modi claimed every action has a reaction, Rajiv Gandhi came up with the big tree falls theory. If Modi demonized the Muslims, Rajiv Gandhi won an election frightening people about the Sikhs. If Modi had Maya Kodnani, Rajiv Gandhi had H.K.L. Bhagat.
Allow me to say this. 1984 riots are a blot on all of us. It's a blot on the Congress. It's a blot on the nation. I don't think that you can... We shouldn't get into competitive riots here. 2002 riots, 84 riots.
Did.
No, I don't think he did.
I
think what Mr. Gandhi was saying, which you are refusing to acknowledge, that 1984 riots was not born out of an ideology of hatred, which the 2002 riots were.
Oh, just a moment.
Absolutely.
Just a moment.
Underlying ideology
upon the Sikhs with hatred.
No.
Look at the number of Congress
party leaders
of hatred,
who are alleged. Please understand.
No,
it was not an ideology.
Yeah, not just
exactly.
overnight. The hatred
happened overnight.
The hatred
it got
was
diminished overnight.
From the time
we were
re-elected
we were re-elected in Punjab. We lost Punjab. We won Punjab, where Sikhs voted for us. Sikhs voted against us. I'm not justifying the 84
riots. Would Rahul Gandhi not have been better advised to apologize, to echo the apology that his Prime Minister has given? Simply say, I'm happy to apologize again. Why did he not?
I think there is much to be said.
It's stuck in his mouth.
There is much to be said for an apology. There is much to be said for ensuring that justice is meted out to the people who were victims of the 1984 riots, in terms of compensation, in terms of bringing the guilty to book. But the basic point, which you're not allowing me to complete, is that the 2002 riots were born out of an underlying 60-year ideology of hatred and demonization of a particular community.
You said something
not
very,
the 1984 riots.
You said something very
but
important.
I'm not justifying in any way the 1984
You
riots.
said something very important at the beginning of that answer. There's much to be said for an apology. Do you think Rahul Gandhi should have apologized?
There is much to be said for an apology.
Should he have apologized?
No, I can't say. I can't speak on his behalf. I can't speak on his behalf. All the Prime Minister has apologized. The Congress President has apologized.
If only Rahul Gandhi had to, the controversy that emerged would not have happened.
Mr. Gandhi has been to the Golden Temple.
My last question. Unfortunately, whether Congress likes it or not, the election that's going to happen in May has become a battle between Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi.
But they are not.
And after,
but they are not. It's a battle between the Congress Party and the BJP in some states, the Congress Party and regional parties, and overall it's the Congress versus the RSS.
In public perception, it's become a battle between the two of them. And I put it to you that after the Times Now interview, Rahul looks second best. Has that become a problem for you?
No, I don't think so. I don't believe that this is a contest between Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Modi. It's a contest between the Congress and the RSS at its fundamental level, Congress and the BJP in some states at an operational level, and Congress versus regional parties in other states.
All right, I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you.
At least the last word.